teachers, and a very warm welcome to our Facebook Live celebrating International Women's Day. So a happy International Women's Day to all of you joining us today. We are joined today by two very amazing women who are going to talk to us about empowering women in ELT. So let's go and meet Araceli and Grazzia.
Hello.
Hi, Araceli.
Hello, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. Now, Grazzia is joining us in a moment. She is just going out and coming back in again to see if that helps with her audio. Otherwise, we will make a plan if it doesn't. So, Araceli, can you just tell us a little bit about where you are and what you do?
Well, yes, thank you. First, thank you for inviting us, for considering our work worth of showing. And well, I'm in Mexico, and we are also commemorating Women's Day. I want to say that this date is to make women's voices heard. This is a day to make us visible, to make the world know that we are here and that uh, we are very, very amazed. We are amazing. We work very hard. Yes.
Wonderful.
So have a nice day everywhere in the world.
Thank you, Araceli. Grazzia, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you both, and I'm very excited
Okay.
to be here on this wonderful day. It's a very special day to commemorate, to celebrate, and recognize the amazing work that women are doing all over the world, and especially to reflect about the fact that we are putting out their platforms for women's voices to be heard. So it is definitely a special day to be here.
So, yeah, it certainly is. And Grazzia, can you tell us a little bit about where you are?
So
and also what you do?
Yes, so I am an educator. I have been an educator for 30 years. I am from Honduras. Just recently, I moved to Indiana for a position with the University of Wisconsin, a remote position with WIDA. And I have been here for a little bit over 10 months. And I'm currently working for multilingualism and doing a lot of research in that area. But I've done a lot of things in 30 years, met amazing educators worldwide. I am a volunteer for TESOL, which is my love and my professional home. And I definitely like to work with teachers and women teachers and empower them and facilitate their work and open channels for them to be empowered and be hard working at what they do, but also to be recognized and to celebrate all of their efforts.
Well, it's such a joy and a pleasure to have, and an honor to have both of you with us today. I just wanted to tell you who's watching and who's joining us. So we have Nasser from Syria, Deepti from Sri Lanka, Playstar from Bangladesh, and we have Olenka from Peru and Rajan from Nepal. And Olenka says, good morning, Grazzia and Araceli, great women in ELT. And we have a message from Miguel from El Salvador. My respect and admiration to the hard-working women in the ELT profession. And Flor from Guatemala, Miguel from Mexico, lots of people joining us from all over the world. And I also have to say, it's really lovely to have a mix of people joining us, men and women, teachers all over the world celebrating the day with us together. So,
exactly.
Yeah, it's very heartwarming. So, Araceli, can you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are?
Well, okay. I have been a teacher for many, many, many years. I started teaching when it was not seen as a professional career. So I just started because I spoke English and I wanted to be a teacher. But then I saw the need to study and the need to keep growing. And of course, along my journey into teaching, I have been surrounded by women who have inspired me and by women who have told me, yes, you can do it, especially those days when it was very hard and I was studying, working, and doing everything that women do every day. Every day they are struggling with the same things. So I pursued an MA in ELT, and then I saw that where I wanted to be, a PhD was required. Then I did it. Then I did it, and I enrolled in a PhD. And that was a hard time. It was a learning time, but I did it. And I would like to tell all women, and of course everybody, that it is possible to do it. When you have a dream and you pursue it, you will go and you will see the way to get over the challenges, the obstacles, and you will always find people who will help you, who will support you, and who will tell you it's okay, everything is going to be okay. And that's what I want to tell all the women struggling everywhere in the world. Just trust that everything will be okay soon.
That's a really beautiful, beautiful words to take with us throughout this day today, and as we go through our teaching careers. Thank you, Araceli. And Grazzia, can you tell us a little bit about your journey of how you got to Indiana?
Yeah, so I always tell people that I became an educator by accident, because I originally was meant to be a doctor. I actually went through halfway of the medical career, but then things happened in my life, family things, and I had to stop studying and I had to go to work. For some reason, and because I was bilingual and I was the product of a bilingual school in Honduras, all of the jobs that I got were teaching, and they were teaching English. So I said, well, this means that I need to get a degree in teaching English. And that's how I got my degree. But I think that more than that degree and more than what academics have given me, my path has been transformed, and it was built by the women that I found along the way. I have been fortunate enough to have found women that wanted to collaborate with me, support me, teach me, mentor me along the way. And because of that, all of my experiences have been about how do I mentor women? How do I empower others? Even my students, right? How do I facilitate their work? And then because of all of this work and the work that I do with TESOL and the work that I have been doing with the Latin American region, I ended up here in Indiana, where they told me, your profile is so unique that we want you here. So it has been an interesting journey. I have worked also in education development. And that's why when you read my chapter in the book, you see it's a zigzag journey, because it has not been a straight road for me. But I have been fortunate to have found amazing women along the way who have supported me and allowed me to grow.
Amazing. It's very inspirational. And I think, and best of luck in Indiana and the rest of your trajectory of career. It's really, yes, very inspiring. I think both of you have mentioned, the support of other women and other teachers around you, which I know rings true for me too, in that sense of, there are other people around to support us. So I just wanted to, some more comments coming in. We have Mary B, she's in Japan, and Flor in Guatemala, and Ida says, a pleasure to be here, and Cecilia in Argentina, Gagan in India, Malaysia, Ida in Albania, and Biljana says, happy International Women's Day to everyone. And we have, I think, some of your students or people you've worked with. Hugo Meneses, hello from Mexico, and a big hug to our DMA program coordinators. It's fantastic. Olenka says, you encourage a lot of women around the world. So lots of messages of support. And I'm sure everyone has an amazing story to tell, which brings us to you've written a book. No, you've collated a book of very inspirational stories. Araceli, can you tell us just a little bit about the book?
Yes. Well, I think it all started when we began to make some events, and we tried to make the voices of women heard. And we organized forums and some other events. But then I think that it was also part of a personal desire. I wanted to tell my story. I wanted to tell my own story, and that was one of the reasons why I talked to Grazzia, and we say, okay, we have heard moving, beautiful, powerful stories. Where are they? We need to have them here. We need to have them here to be read and reread and to learn from them. Yes, and so we started talking, and we always say that we are a great team because some of us have, or one of us has an idea, and the other makes it happen. So this time I started, but Gracia made it happen, and so this was an opportunity to tell my story, but at the same time it was the time and the way, and it I consider that the book is a treasure which contains the powerful stories of women all over the world. It was a great process. We enjoyed it very much, and we are super proud of all these women that shared, and grateful because they shared their stories. Yes.
They are incredibly inspiring stories. And Gracia, can you tell us a little bit about how you found these stories?
Yeah, so it was an interesting process. We set up a call on Facebook on one of our social media pages, and we just launched the call. And we said, this is a call for women who want to tell their stories, who want to share their narratives, who want to talk about their journeys, their lives, and their empowerment stories in ELT. We were expecting a few stories. We were so overwhelmed when we got over 60 expressions of interest. It was like we were like amazed, and it was like only the first weeks, and we were like, oh my god, what are we going to do? Are we going to include them all? They are so good, the proposals are so great. And we said, well, let's see when the chapters start coming in the end. We ended up with around 31 stories, including ours. But it was a great journey, and the women have been amazing. They have been so collaborative, they have been on top of things, they have been responsive. So it has, I think this was God sent. It was a blessing for us because we just put the word out there, and people, and this speaks to what Araceli was saying. There is this need of people, of women, to tell their story. They just needed a platform, and they just needed a place, and it was definitely so amazing to see the response, and then to see the quality of the stories, not only in terms of the writing, but in terms of the emotions. And if people read them, they're going to go through those emotions. We were going through those emotions when editing, so it's definitely an inspiration that we had, and a blessing that we received.
Well, Wayam has just shared the link for everybody watching. The link is in the comments to Volume 1 of Empowered Women in ELT, a collection of worldwide stories. And they really are worldwide. There's teachers from all over the place in leadership and just incredible journeys. So when you were collecting the stories, were there any common, Araceli, any common themes that you noticed coming through the stories?
Definitely. Definitely, we could see first, women are still struggling with these gender roles. I myself, I was through them, and as I tell in my story, it was my kids first. Yes, it was my kids first, and then it was me. It was me who wanted to do something else for myself, but also for everybody else. So that was one. Gender roles. There are stories of discrimination, even near us, and that was, for me, that was amazing. That was surprising, more than amazing. That even in my surroundings, women were still talking about discrimination. Of course, so role models. Role models is a very recurrent topic because many women say that they were inspired either by a teacher, by a parent, by a relative, by somebody. Somebody was an inspiration for them. So role modeling. Another is, for example, supports networks, networks of women who support each other, and of course, the way English made them um, international citizens. They could see what was happening with other women because they were teaching, because they were speaking. Sometimes local languages do not allow women to see beyond them. But when you speak a global language, in this case English, the world opens and you can see that first that you are not alone and that you can connect with everybody, that there are other people going through the same, and at the end, things just fall in the right place. Mhm.
That's incredible. Yeah, so lots of themes there of sort of solidarity and support and an inspirational figure. Gracia, did you notice what were your takes on during this collection process?
Yeah, exactly. I think some of the things that I noticed were that challenges could be similar, but there were also very contextual challenges. Like, depending on where you are in the world, those are going to be your contextual challenges, and those are going to be different, right? But what I saw as similarity across the narratives of the book was the fact that women sought ways to overcome them. Sometimes they had to do it on their own, sometimes they had a support system. So the way that they overcame that was different, but they found ways to do it. And especially, they had the recommendations in place to tell others, if you're at any time in your life faced with a similar challenge, this is what you can do. And then people can read that and say, well, I cannot do that exactly, but I can adapt it to my context. So there is not only those lessons of resilience and facing the challenge, overcoming those things that happen in our life, but it's also those lessons learned, those best practices that can inspire other women, that can inspire students, that can inspire the new generation of women in ELT. So definitely an inspiration.
Definitely,
Yes,
and not go on, Araceli.
yes. What I wanted to say is that it was also, we suffered reading the stories, but at the end, all of the stories left us with a very nice lesson, with the feelings of women surpassing everything. Yes. So all of them are, I'm, I am going to say all of them are successful women telling their stories, whatever their story is.
Amazing leaders. Yeah.
Amazing leaders.
Yes.
And I was reading one of the first stories and feeling quite exhausted halfway through, thinking, how can this person manage with the kids, the studies, the school, and the dreams and the family and just so many things? I was like, oh, I need to take a break for the next part. But she made it. It was incredible.
Exactly. And when you think about that, is the reality of women worldwide, right? We have to navigate all the complexities of being professionals, of doing things at home, of being a wife, of being a mother, of being a sister. So it's all those complexities that women have to navigate, and we still manage to be resilient, and we still manage to be successful.
Yeah, the expectations from society are huge.
Huge.
Yes, yes, huge.
I want
Still.
to read some of the comments that are coming in again. Samia says, happy day from Algeria to you and for all the women around the world. Gabriella, so proud of you all, ELT women community. There's a comment here. Oops, so many are coming through. Hang on a minute. It was from, from Sebastian, who says, women's empowerment and the promotion of gender equality are essential for the development of a just and equitable society.
Thank you.
Any comments on that?
Yeah, and the fact that we are, and you said it at the beginning, the fact that we are still talking about this right now, right? When women did so much in the past, and why are we still talking about this? Well, but we need to talk about it, and we need to do things about it, and we need to create platforms like the book or this interview or spaces where women have the possibility to talk about their stories, to inspire others, to support others. So it's part of that path.
Absolutely, absolutely. And William has just asked, what challenges do you face, the women face in your context, to the teachers watching? So we'd love to hear your stories as well. Now, one of the things that a couple of things that struck me in the collection of the stories is that you have put at the end of each story some discussion points and some teaching points so that teachers, you can use these in your classrooms. So, Gracia, tell us a little bit about what those talking points are.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that we were taking the stories out there, but we also wanted to make sure that this was material that teachers could use in their classrooms, either at the secondary level or undergraduate, graduate student teachers that can be using this material, and making sure that there was a reflection. First, of gender equity, gender roles, breaking stereotypes, but also about inspiration, talking about what is happening in different parts of the world and how they can relate, how these things resonate, or how they can be aware of things that happen in other parts of the world. Because sometimes it might not happen in your context, but when you read about it, when you learn about it, when you reflect about it, then you become aware. And then you can become an advocate. So it has that intention of being something, yes, a platform for women, all women, no matter where they are, to tell their stories, but also a material that can be used for learning, that can be used for reflecting, that can be used for starting those difficult conversations that we still need to have.
Exactly. Mhm. Yes, from the beginning, the book was conceived as a resource. First, because we want to hear those voices, but also because we said, okay, all these women are sharing these stories, but what for? What for? And and then all the chapters at the end, all the chapters have some discussion. First, some critical points where we ask the authors, what strategies, what skills did you use or what lessons were learned during all this journey? And then some discussion questions that teachers or even networks of women can use to reflect on the story, but also relating to their own context. So we conceived it as an open educational resource for women around the world. So please download it, use it. We would love to hear how you are using, how teachers in the world, you are using these stories to inspire women in your contexts.
I found that the thinking points and the discussion points really, really valuable, even just for me reading the story, to then reflect on the story and think about it. They're really very, very, they're questions, like you said, Gracia, to start those difficult conversations. And they're a question that will help ease into that, especially for the teacher. So I've got that some more comments coming in. Olenka says that both of you have encouraged her to participate in different conferences as a speaker, which has been amazing. And Alwyn in Berlin says, I'm really looking forward to reading the stories of women in ELT. Thank you for compiling them, and a happy Women's Day. And Consuela says, we as women wear many hats and do our best to share our knowledge and skills while spreading love and kindness.
Exactly.
So the other thing that I really liked about the collection of stories is that they are written in the author's own voices. So each one has a different style. And as I was reading it, I could almost feel the expressions coming across in the writer's home language or home culture, which was really lovely. Was that a deliberate decision, Gracia?
We wanted to make sure that that context and that part of the world was part of the stories, because we wanted to make sure that this was a resource that represented the world and that was represented those global challenges, those global contexts. So it was intentional. One thing that we learned from one of the authors, I forget right now her name, but she was very clear with us when she sent her bio, and she said, I want to have my bio in English and in my mother tongue. And we said, that is a great idea. We're going to apply that for everybody. And then we asked them, all the women, please send us your bio in English and in your native language. So that gave it another spice. And then that's how you see the authors also contributing to our editing. So this is us editing and compiling these stories, but it's really the author's work that we want to highlight, and their stories and their inspiration.
Araceli, anything to add?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. We wanted to keep it at the personal level. We didn't want to mm, change their choices, change the choices of words they have made. If they have selected those words, it was because of something, because it was the way they spoke, the way they expressed themselves in English. So we also wanted to show the varieties of English that all these women, because most of them are non-native speakers of English, and that is how they communicate, and we wanted to respect and keep it like that. And when you read the stories, they are like, they are telling the stories themselves to you. You read them, you feel as if that woman is telling you the story, and that was moving for us. We wanted to be very respectful with that. We didn't want to change much.
And it really comes across when you read the stories. It sort of brings the stories alive a lot. So I'm a huge fan of the stories. And for me, what really makes it unique is those thinking and talking points at the end that I think makes it so accessible for teachers to use in the classroom. And not just women teachers, all teachers, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, all teachers in general. Like I said, it can be used secondary school,
Mhm.
undergraduate, graduate programs. Yeah.
So we've got lots of comments from teachers watching, just saying thank you so much for putting the stories together and look forward to reading them, and what a great job. We've got a comment from Hugo saying, unfortunately, a lot of people do not recognize this gender inequality that still exists in many countries, and this is a problem we all need to address and work on it. So what kinds of things can we do, men and women, to help bring more of a gender equality? Araceli?
We need support of men. We need men because, well, they are the other half of the population, right? First, we need them, we like them, and we need their support. We don't want to be better. We don't want to do anything. We just want to be equal, equal opportunities, equal salaries, equal responsibilities at home, for example. So yes, we need you guys. Keep supporting us. Yeah.
Gracia?
Yeah, we need everybody. We need everybody to work collaboratively. And the way that we're going to create awareness is if we collaboratively work towards this, if we come together, think about ways of creating awareness and being advocates. So it's everybody's work, right? So it's not only our work. Everybody has to be involved.
Absolutely. And we've got a couple of comments here. Consuela is saying it's an inspiring written material that allows women to share their realities and let their voices not only be heard, but valued.
Yes.
Which I think is very true.
I love that comment.
I love
Yes.
that comment, yes. And Rajani says, stories play a vital role in modifications of thought processes. So I think that's quite interesting in the role of the stories, the way that, for me, the way that they're written and sort of telling women's stories. And like you said, right at the beginning, Araceli, or both of you were talking about, we hear a lot of stories of very famous people and, you know, in the news or magazines and on TV. But these are stories of everyday people.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Of women, normal women who love teaching and who want to inspire other women.
Exactly. Yes.
That's why it's leadership.
So, Gracia, what are your hopes sort of looking towards next International Women's Day or in the next year ahead? What things would you like to see happen?
So right now we are with volumes 2 and 3. So our hopes is we have had also an overwhelming response. We already have over 50 proposals. We are reviewing those, and today actually we are meeting to go over them and decide which ones we're keeping and which ones we are not. It's going to be a hard decision, but we're looking forward to completing those 2 volumes and bringing the leadership of women into 2 other realms, research and technology, which are also ways in which women are empowering the field, are empowering the world. And our hope is that this book, this volume, and this whole series is all over the place. And that's the reason why we made it open access, because we wanted to make sure that it was available everywhere and that everybody had a chance to use it, to read it, and to become inspired.
Yes. And I also want to thank the authors for sharing their stories. We have created a community where women talk to us wherever we go, and I am so excited because next week I am going to TESOL and I am going to meet some of the authors. Some of the authors we are going to make the presentation, and every time they see us is incredible. It's so moving. So I am really, really grateful to all those women who share their stories. Just if you need to tell your story, if you need support, if you need inspiration, we're here. Grazzia and I are always here to help.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful, wonderful, warm feeling I have now to finish off International Women's Day here in Spain, and for you just beginning your day over there where you are in Mexico and Indiana. And so for teachers watching, do read the stories. They are really inspiring. And I've been very moved by your words, both of you, around your own stories of support and the community that you're building. And I think, just watching everybody's comments come through of just a lot of support and joy. So thank you so much for both of you for joining us today. And happy International Women's Day, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Oh, and thank you, Wei Am and Marcus in the background.